planet.
He's going from DC to the Bronx, but he can't make it down to FIDE. So
so fitting of him and who he is. I mean, and I like these changes that they're making to the Smithsonian, we can just change it right back. Like the next administration, that's almost certainly gonna be a Democratic one after 3 more years of this. I mean, it's pretty much a guarantee. They're just gonna switch it right back. So like, what a waste of resources and what a waste of time. Like the whole idea of like, they're just trying to wokeify everything and talk about slavery and stuff like that. While we do live in an age of massive disinformation, we still live in the age of the internet. The truth is out there. There are plenty of good actors who provide excellent information. So you can't really erase this part of history and people being exposed to any of this. I think it really lays bare so much of what is actually behind the MAGA movement. It's just kind of like the last dying remnants of the Confederacy in this country. That war was lost quite some time ago, but it's still being fought. And luckily, the cat's not going back in the bag. Women ain't going back in the kitchen. Gay people ain't going back in the closet. Black people and brown people aren't about to be out of the workforce. So as much damage as they're causing, ultimately they've already lost.
Yeah, and his efforts to take over all of these national institutions, we mentioned the Kennedy Center and the Smithsonian and now the 9/11 Memorial and the museum associated with it. I have to believe, maybe for my own sanity, that even if he is allowed to take over certain things, the people who work at these institutions, they are lifetime, like that career historians and people, anthropologists, people who do this for a living, who are passionate about the work that they do, who take their work very, very seriously when it comes to cataloging major events in American history and preserving the memories of those who experienced it and who lived through certain things. In the case of 9/11, the people who died from 9/11 and the families of those victims, everything that happened that day. For those of us who are old enough to remember what that day was like, it was horrifying. We can take all the politics, put that aside for a second. Like that was a very scary day for most American people because nobody knew what was going on. And even if you understood what was going on, it was still horrifying to see it because nothing like that was something that we had witnessed before. And all of that context matters. And I have to believe that those people are still around. And even if we survive as a nation, this administration, I have to believe that all those people will come back and fix it all after the fact. So if we just get through these years, then maybe we'll be okay. All right, Jackson, tell the people where they can find your work because we're gonna wrap soon.
We wrapping up. Yeah, it's always good to be on with you on whatever show it is. Y'all can find me at Politics and Paper on YouTube. It's youtube.com/@politicsandpaper, and you can catch me on Rebel HQ and other shows on TYT throughout the week.
And you can also find my work at Rebel HQ on the YouTube channel. Also, this is fun for me, at least. I'm going to be hosting the second hour of the main show on Friday, and I'm actually going to be in LA this weekend. So I'm going to be doing it for the first time, my first time in the studio. I've been to the studio before, but I've never done a show from the studio. So I'm kind of excited, and I'm kind of nervous about it too. Because
I was just I was in LA a few weeks ago, and I did the power panel in the studio. It was good. It was me, Jank, and Jordan Ewell.
Oh, that's fun. Yeah,
it's a cool studio. I like it a lot.
Yeah, I've been to the studio before, and I've watched the show happen, but I wasn't on the show that day. So yeah, I'm excited. So everybody tune in for that. Hopefully it goes well, and if it doesn't, just be nice about it. Just be cool. All right. So with that, I don't have a sign. I never have a sign off, but thanks for being here, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
welcome. It's indisputable. I'm your host, Rashad Richard. Good to be with you. We have a lot on the agenda today. Breaking down news of the day, none other than the incomparable Sharon Reed. Always fascinating to have her brilliance on the program. Top story of the day. Donald Trump in a late night Big Mac, possibly Coca-Cola infused rant. He's afraid of these Epstein files, but they coming. Put it up full mass. Trump's latest Truth Social post, the irony of it, has ignited a multitude of responses on social media surrounding the Epstein who files. Trump wrote, quote, the Epstein case was only brought back to life by the radical left Democrats because they are doing so poorly with the lowest poll numbers in the history. We're not even going to finish that line. This is merely another Democrat hoax, just like Russia, and all of the others, in order to deflect and distract from the great success of a Republican president. It's time to end the Democrat Epstein hoax. So you're a Republican now. Your son said the Republican Party was no more. All you have now is MAGA. And obviously, revisionist history at play here. Democrats did not talk about the Epstein files enough, much less too much. But according to Trump, MAGA are now Democrats because they are the ones who pushed the narrative about release the Epstein files. So as a matter of fact, this would also mean that Donald Trump is possibly a Democrat because he too echoed the same sentiment while running for president of the United States, talked about it on multiple interviews. His son, Junior, is a Democrat then because he's the person who reposted, show us the files. In an effort to defend Trump, the House Speaker, Mike Johnson, went so far as to suggest the former president, quote, was an FBI informant to try to take this stuff down, end quote. A claim that stunned reporters on Capitol Hill and poured gasoline on the fire. Now, let me say this. Mike Johnson is a prolific liar. And he happens to be slightly smarter than Donald Trump. For him to say a lie this dumb, it was because Trump told him, if you're cornered, say this. Here it is.
Every single one of them nodded and said, of course, yes, please do that.
But Trump called it a hoax yesterday.
What Trump is referring to is the hoax that the Democrats are using to try to attack him. He has never said or suggested or implied. I've talked to him about this many times. He is horrified.
The whole thing a hoax.
It's been misrepresented. He's not saying that what Epstein did is a hoax. It's a terrible, unspeakable evil. He believes that himself. When he first heard the rumor, he kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago. He was an FBI informant to try to take this stuff down. The president knows and has great sympathy for the women who have suffered these unspeakable harms. It's detestable to him. He and I have spoken about this as recently as 24 hours ago.
That's right. He gets a hero cookie for telling a pedo Pete guy, get out. And that's it, according to Mr. Johnson. Within days, Johnson was backtracking, insisting he was merely echoing an old talking point about Trump's role years ago. But the reversal underscored how frantic the scramble has become turning the fight over the files into a full-blown political theater. Quote, the speaker is reiterating what the victim's attorney said, which is that Donald Trump, who kicked Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago over a property deal, by the way, not because of his predatory nature, was the only one more than a decade ago willing to help prosecutors expose Epstein for being a disgusting child predator. The statement from Johnson's office read. In the rest of his Truth Social post last week, Trump posted, quote, the confused and badly failing Democratic Party did nothing about Jeffrey Epstein while he was alive, except befriend him, socialize with him, travel to his island, and take his money. Trump wrote, steering clear from his own involvement of befriending him, traveling with him, and likely taking his money too. He accused Democrats of ignoring victims during Epstein's lifetime, saying, quote, where were they during his very public trials? And for all of those years before his death, the answer is nowhere to be found. Well, Trump, the guy who, through the prosecution, who could have prosecuted Epstein, you hired him in your first administration. The attorney general who worked in Florida, you hired her as your current head cop. And, sir, you then decided to provide a pardon to the woman who admitted that she recruited children for the sake of having this predator abuse them. There's more. But it's not clear what Epstein trials Trump is referring to. The disgraced financier was given a highly unusual plea deal. We talked about this on Indisputable, that included immunity for accomplices in exchange for his 2008 guilty plea to a federal charges in connection with sex trafficking minors. Epstein died in 2019 before he could stand trial on new federal charges for many of those same crimes that he should have been prosecuted for in 2008. A creepy drawing in the Epstein archives that was published Monday shows the sex offender approaching girls with balloons before being massaged. The book was compiled for Epstein's 50th birthday, according to the report. Epstein's 50th birthday book included letters from former President Bill Clinton, billionaire Leon Black, and the current President Donald Trump himself. Trump has denied penning the letter to Epstein, which featured his signature, a drawing of a naked woman, and the words, quote, "May every day be another wonderful secret," end quote. Trump's signature appears at the bottom of the letter. So, yeah, all of his cronies are saying, oh, you know what? That doesn't look like Trump's signature. Put it up again. The cronies could have at least said, somebody could have duplicated that. But no, they're not saying it's a duplication. They're saying it doesn't even look like Donald Trump's signature. On Monday, the contribution to the book from Joel Pashkow, a member of Trump's Mar-a-Lago club, was also made public, showing Joel joking about Epstein selling a, quote, fully depreciated woman to Trump for $22,500. Quote, Jeffrey showing early talents with money, women, sells fully depreciated, redacted, to Donald Trump for $22,500, read the letter published by the Wall Street Journal. quote, showed early people skills too. Even though I handled the deal, I didn't get any of the money on the girl, end quote. The letter included a photo of Epstein and others holding up a giant fake check for $22,500. It gets even worse. While the woman's name was redacted in the letter on Monday, she was reportedly someone whom Trump and Epstein, quote, socialized with in the 1990s, end quote. According to the Journal, which cited unnamed sources familiar with the matter, a lawyer for the woman told the newspaper that their client had no prior knowledge of the letter and did not know Joel Pascal. Trump is currently suing the Wall Street Journal for reporting on his alleged birthday letter to Epstein, claiming the document was a fake. He's going to lose that lawsuit and likely gets kicked out prior to even going before any evidentiary proceeding, only because, well, that looks like his signature. The Wall Street Journal would have had to know it to be a lie in order for Trump to be successful. The White House is doubling down, insisting the signature on the letter is not Trump's. Quote, the latest piece published by the Wall Street Journal proves this entire birthday card story is false. It doesn't. Caroline Levitt wrote, as I have said all along, it's very clear President Trump did not draw this picture and he did not sign it. It's very clear, huh? Madam, you have access to individuals who actually do this for a living. They look at handwriting samples. They are qualified witnesses inside of court proceedings. You can call one of them. As a matter of fact, you have the authority to call one of them now and have them analyze the signature and provide a press conference. Okay. Ms. Maxwell, creditor. Ms. Maxwell's attorney, Arthur Adela, insists he has no idea why the Trump DOJ transferred this convicted predator, child predator, to a minimum security prison. Here it is.
Well, there's things I'm not allowed to talk about, right? So there are things I can't talk about.
Okay, but let's just
obviously I can talk in generalities.
Let's just pause it.
When anybody who's represented by a lawyer who knows what they're doing goes in and meets with the government, there's always a quid pro quo. You don't just take your client in and say, let me talk to you about something. They wanted information from, hypothetically, anytime the government wants an information from a citizen, the citizen says, well, I have a right to remain silent. If you want me to give up that right, I need something in return. Usually it's a plea bargain. Usually your charges are going to be lowered and your exposure. Why are you laughing? I've done that for 35 years.
You just admitted to a quid pro quo with the
But that's not the whole system works.
Would this have happened before or after the interview? Would this have happened before or after the interview? Would they have said to her, we're going to do this interview, and in exchange for it, you're going to go to this other prison?
The truth is, Abigail, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
Okay.
I don't know the answer to that question. I don't have knowledge of when that decision was made.
I don't have knowledge of when that decision was made. Sounds rehearsed to me. Plausible deniability. The whole thing is dirty. Everybody knows it's dirty. Everybody sees it for what it is. You have leaders amongst you. Leaders who are willing to support this kind of corruption that goes beyond budgets. It goes beyond political manipulation. It even goes beyond violation of Constitution. It violates the consciousness of all of us. But you got some real ones, MAGA, believe it or not. You got some real ones who are willing to break rank when it comes to children. Those are the best among you, because even in the midst of the manipulation, they were willing to take the fire from you and from people like me to stand up for children. All right, sharing thoughts here.
Well said, Doc. I would love to see you one-on-one with Marjorie Taylor Greene, the representative from Georgia, who is one of those who said, no, I'm not going along with this. As brilliant as you are, having you read Donald Trump's Taco Bell and perhaps Diet Coke fueled late night social posting even made you, a brilliant man, sound like Dr. Seuss.
Right.
This is what it sounded like. And this is what we're reduced to. Yeah. This group and this administration of, well, they lack creativity. They do some really dumb things. They're a group of just dingleberries. No, I'm sorry. It's a group of dingleberries who are running the country into the ground and hating on children,
right,
and sanctioning abuse. Come up with something better, liars.
Yeah. We shall bring you updates as updates are guaranteed to develop. All right. Well, a black cop gets racially profiled by cops. Here it is.
I'm pulling you over. For what? For chirping your tires. Yeah, I got your car.
I'm the police, bro.
You're on the police?
You see, I gave you my ID.
I didn't see it.
What am I under arrest for?
Sit down. I'll explain to you in a second.
Gas the tires? I'm going to jail?
Hey, why are you being so difficult, man?
I'm not going to... If you ask a question, I'll explain why. I literally just got off the plane. It's my friend's birthday. Okay. I just rented this car, and I've broken no law that I know of. And you haven't explained to me which law I broke.
Well, you did. That's what I told you when we were stopping you.
So what?
So when I'm asking you to sit down, and you're like, I don't have to. I don't want to.
I don't have to sit down if I don't want to.
Yes, you do. If I'm telling you to sit down, you have to sit down.
I'm glad I didn't bring my gun. I know that. Because it would have been. I know y'all would have threw me on the floor, all type of stuff.
No.
I would have beat up.
Not like that out here, bro.
The municipal code?
No, it's a state code.
It's a state code. Yep. Yeah, I violated it. I understand.
It's 28-708.
All 30 years of my life, I've never been in handcuffs sitting on the curb before. Like, look, he doing the same. That's what exactly. Go pull that bitch over. I didn't. Yeah, I had nowhere to go.
You're not the only one tonight.
I know that's. He's doing the same thing for longer, and it's louder. Like, what the?
Dealing with you, I can't go.
No, but there's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Oh, get his ass. Bro, he didn't even have nowhere to go, bro. He just doing the same shit. And he ran a red light.
Skyline,
he busted a U-turn in the middle of traffic. That's illegal. That's an infraction, bro.
That's the Skyline.
I don't, whatever. You can't make a U-turn within 100 feet of an intersection.
Out here you can.
Just don't beat my ass. That's all.
Unless you get crazy, nobody's going to put hands on you.
He's the police. Put it up full mass. What did it? Was it the black skin? Maybe the locks. Perhaps the fact he knew the law. Possibly all three. Black Chicago cop gets racially profiled by cops in Arizona. Officer Jalen Woods was racially profiled by local police, Tempe police, according to Atlanta Black Star. They did great reporting on this. The Chicago cop is now suing the local police department for violating his First, Fourth, and 14th Amendment rights, as well as false arrest, malicious prosecution, gross negligence, defamation, and racial discrimination. The incident took place on August 23rd, 2024, only hours after Officer Woods had arrived in Phoenix to celebrate a friend's birthday. He had a rental car, which local outlets report was a Dodge Hellcat. I was driving with a friend through the entertainment district in the city, a municipality that borders Phoenix, when police said he chirped his tires. Yes, chirped his tires. The police wasted no time in ordering him out of his car and handcuffing and arresting him, claiming they were obligated to do so, even though it's considered a minor infraction because he was from out of town. The footage also shows there were other cars revving their engines louder than he did, but none of the cops at the scene bothered to stop them. The cops also impounded his rental car, telling him they were required to do so by state law, telling him it would be impounded for 20 days. But the lawsuit states there is no state law requiring an impounding the vehicle for 20 days, quote, unless the officer reasonably believes the other individuals are at risk or serious bodily injury or death by the person driving the vehicle. In this case, they could have easily allowed his friend in the passenger seat to drive the car, but the claim states they wanted to impound the vehicle to conduct an, quote, inventory search in the hopes of finding something more serious to arrest him on. In other words, it was your typical pretextual stop that is used against Black people and other minorities daily across the country, as Atlanta Black Star has reported many times, including that time Chicago police fired 96 rounds in 41 seconds, killing a Black man they had stopped for a seatbelt violation, which was later changed to a stop for illegal tents. This is also why many local jurisdictions have now banned pretextual stops, because police officers were utilizing them illegally, unconstitutionally, in order to effect an arrest of something else. There's more. So Officer Woods actually spent the night in jail on a misdemeanor charge of, quote, racing on highways, aiding and abetting. A charge that was quickly dismissed by the prosecutors, who realized they did not have enough evidence to convict him on that charge. The claim states the arrest resulted in him being placed on administrative leave from his job in Chicago at the Chicago Police Department, and also left him with a bacterial infection and emotional distress. The local police further retaliated against him in January after he filed a notice of claim indicating he was going to sue the city by calling his superiors in Chicago, resulting in him being investigated by internal affairs, all right? So every government entity, every governmental agency, you are required to send them notice that you're going to sue. If you do not send this notice, you're not allowed to go to step 2, which is a lawsuit. So he sends, likely by way of his attorney, the proper notice to sue document. They take the notice to sue, and they decide to call his superiors in Chicago. Maybe they know somebody. Maybe they got old buddies at the Chicago PD. Whatever it may be, the fact that they made those calls, and if it can be proven in a court, goes to the actual claim that he originally filed, that the entire interaction was intentional, targeted, and discriminatory in nature. All right, sharing hell of a thing. Police target the police, find out he's the police, and still put him in jail for a misdemeanor charge.
They're just doing what they do, and nobody's going to check them. That's the attitude. And look, as you laid out, Doc, what they kept doing, the incident, the aftermath, all of it, it just shows that they're above the law. They know it. We know it. And in order to hold them accountable, you have to jump through incredible hoops. I hate that the brother had to go through this, but there was a very real admission from a police officer in that footage that you showed. He said, other circumstances, I would have gotten beat up. The thing, I didn't have my gun with me. They know it, and we know it. It's disgusting. It's willful misconduct. These are slave catchers. I'm going to keep saying things like that because they're living up to their history and their well, their birthright. This is what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're right. The original DNA of policing agencies was basically a slave patrol to protect property, and Black people were considered the property of those individuals who own plantations and allegedly people. All right, we'll bring you updates. We'll see where this lawsuit goes. I'm glad he filed it. Hopefully, this transforms some of that corruption in the local department. Okay. What if I told you a man is shot for trying to save a gunshot victim? He's shot by the police. Put him up full mask. Talk about irony and sad. Cops shoot an unarmed Black man who was helping a gunshot victim. According to Atlanta Black Star, August 25th, 2023. Demetrius Carter. Mr. Carter was doing nothing more than attending a high school football game between Dale City High School and Choctaw High School when a fight broke out in the stands between students. Gunshots were fired. A 16-year-old Black child named Corday Carter, not related to Mr. Carter, not related to Mr. Demetrius Carter, was killed in that shooting. A 15-year-old Black child named Devlin Hamilton was arrested a month later, spending 4 months in jail on murder charges before the charges were dismissed in January 2024 after a witness recanted their statements. Since then, no arrests have been made. So back to Corday Carter's mother. Her name is Jania Wright. The lawsuit describes a scenario where Mr. Demetrius Carter was shot as he tried to help her son. She said her son was confronted by 3 to 4 male juveniles, and the teens were arguing, and one of the teens pulled out a gun and shot her son in the groin. Her son ran behind a food vendor and began yelling for help, prompting Mr. Carter, Demetrius Carter, to approach him to render aid. What do you have so far? You have a concerned human being. That's what you have. You have an individual who's willing to run toward gunshots because a child is crying for help. You have a good human being. You have a good person, a good man. As Demetrius was approaching Corday, 2 DCPD officers arrived at the scene with their guns drawn and began yelling at Demetrius. Put his hands up in the air and informed the officers he was not involved in the shooting and was simply attempting to help the young Corday. Before Demetrius was able to get to the child, one of the DCPD cops, Sean Hogue, Officer Hogue, fired his gun at Mr. Carter, striking Mr. Carter in the chest. After shooting Demetrius, Officer Hogue and the other DCPD officers did not stop to render aid, but continued on their way looking for the shooters. So they shoot the Good Samaritan. They don't render aid to him. They bypass the child. They don't render aid to the child. They have literally created a worse scenario coming to the scene than it was prior to them arriving. So from the beginning, police refused to release the body cam. I bet they didn't want to release that body cam. So they didn't want to release the body camera footage from the shooting, claiming the incident was still under investigation. However, Hogue was cleared of wrongdoing by the Oklahoma County Grand Jury April 2024. which should have closed the case. But neither the Dale City Police Department nor the Oklahoma County District Attorney has released videos, which would probably show us whether Mr. Demetrius Carter had his hands in the air or if he had something in his hands resembling a gun. Hogue's attorney, Gary James, told News 9 that Mr. Carter was shot because, quote, he didn't comply, end quote. A few months later, after his client was cleared of any wrongdoing, James told local media that the grand jury viewed the video and determined Demetrius Carter probably was holding a gun. Quote, I believe the video reflects when he falls, he throws the gun backward under the Dale City Police Unit, James told the Oklahoman. Police have been telling local media that 2 guns and 8 rounds were recovered at the scene, but they have not yet said where exactly they were found, and they have made no mention of whether Mr. Carter was holding one of the recovered guns or not. James also insisted Officer Hogue did not have a racist bone in his body. Quote, anybody who knows Sean Hogue knows he's not a racist, the attorney said. Quote, these are fabricated statements made by a plaintiff attorney from another state. Now, Carter, 45, survived the shooting, has filed a federal lawsuit against Officer Hogue, claiming he had both hands in the air when he was shot, accusing the cop of having, quote, racial implicit biases, prejudices, and racial discrimination towards African-American individuals, as well as personal animosity against Carter. Quote, Hogue was familiar with Carter from previous encounters in the city of Dale City. Hogue had a negative impression of Carter because of his prior interactions with Carter, states the claim filed by Billy Clark, an attorney based in Texas. Hogue's use of deadly force against a non-confrontational, non-threatening individual is excessive in nature. The violation of Carter's rights and protections afforded him pursuant to the Fourth Amendment of the Constitution of the United States, end quote. Let's put up the chief. So we got the chief, Lloyd Berger, is the chief of Dale City Police Department, and Vicky Bahina is the DA of Oklahoma City. I mean, their faces just say it all. All right, Sharon, so the reason why Mr. Carter, and I believe Mr. Carter's story, because you don't file a federal lawsuit knowing that the federal lawsuit provides your attorney with subpoena power. And one of those powers will be to disclose the video in which you claim my client had a weapon. If the client had a weapon, the last thing you do is tell on yourself by filing a federal lawsuit.
Duh. I mean, that would be my legal response. I mean, duh. I mean, these people are corrupt. They're corrupt. And I don't care what they say, because sometimes in your research from your incredible investigative team at Indisputable Doc, you'll read things that say, well, we're still investigating, and so we cannot release this and that. And then other times you notice how they release that body cam right away to say, gotcha, another thug off the street. And these people, he's gotcha. And every bit of what he said is accurate. Now, if there's anybody out there listening who accidentally stumbled upon this show, I hope you stay. You know why people don't call the police sometimes? Do you know why certain people don't call upon the police? Because it can be worse than not having them there.
That's right. I remember a dear friend and wise brother, Derek Bozeman, said one time on air, one of the greatest talk radio guys in the business. He said, it's getting to a point now where if you call the police, you have to consider that your life and everybody's life around you may change forever. And that may not be the reason you called them. And it's starting to get to that point, Sharon, and it's sad because we pay taxes to have protection, not to have another offense. We're calling because we want you to de-escalate an offense, not create more. Okay, we'll bring you updates as they come. We got more on the other side. indisputable, stick and stay.
Damn it, they failed us. And if you're not angry about that, Michael, and any of you out there, then you're damn wrong, because you should be angry. Young Turks.
It was genuine. He was mad.
Cenk Uygur, known online as one of the Young Turks, isn't afraid to throw some punches.
3, 2, 1, fade up.
Cenk the Turk Uygur.
What kind of TV station is this? The whole point is for me to yell and scream and tell you what I think.
It was right out of like Wayne's World.
This guy on this little rinky-dink website is speaking truth to power.
We've been averaging 600,000 views a day, beating most of the cable shows in America.
We're the largest online news show in the world.
We're celebrating our 1 billionth view.
Television, we're coming.
More politics ahead with Cenk Uygur.
He knew that the MSNBC opportunity was an experiment.
If fill-in hosts beat CNN and headline news combined, at some point, they want to give me a show.
Every single year, that comes out of our paycheck. We put it in, and you're saying we were suckers.
When you, as a host, tells someone you're interviewing to shut up, that's going to raise a red flag.
That guy needed a tall glass of shut-up juice.
If President Obama's doing the wrong thing, I'm not going to tell you that he's doing the right thing so I can, quote, support him.
He says to me, "You won't believe the meeting that I just had."
The head of MSNBC talked to me.
And they want him off the air.
Cenk took an incredible risk.
We're supposed to challenge the government. That's the role of the media. The Democrats and the Republicans are here to screw you. And who on the air is saying it?
I wouldn't have done what he did.
That if I'm going to be a talk show host, I should be the biggest talk show host in the country. I don't think anyone else does it better. I don't think anyone's even close.
Before you know it, I'll be back on your TV doing a national show. I guarantee it.
Magic. It's showtime. And say 45 minutes. I'm hosting today. Now, I know what you're thinking, JR, your face is already perfect, but you know what? I still need to apply some makeup. I went through this process, right, a few years ago, when I realized that I was gonna have to wear makeup on the show. I had to go through like finding out what my undertones were. You guys know what those are? I got my MAC Cosmetics. It says SPF 15 foundation, broad spectrum. But apparently what I have is red undertones, and I think pores are not supposed to be seen. I need all these things to be confirmed for me. These sponge things don't work for me. You gotta use your hands. At least I did. That's how the magic really happens. So we're gonna go through a tutorial how to make the magic happen from beautiful to beautifuler. Let's go. I've already been moisturized. That's the first thing. But moisturization already happened. We go raw. All hands. Pick up a couple streaks. This is the guy way of putting on makeup. Look at that, dots. There's some shiny points that generally happen. First of all, here we go. You dust here. I'm putting way too much, but you dust. Oh, get the excess off. You don't want chunky powder. There's like a T-zone, I think, right? Mine is a double T-zone. Because I went middle and another cross. Make sure your nose isn't all shiny. People get on you for it. You don't say, that's not a good point you made on there, JR. Your nose is shiny. You guys are picky like that sometimes. I think that's about it, fellas and ladies. See you guys next time. Bitsies.
All right, welcome back. Always good to be with you. We got a lot of comments. We'll read as many as I can. Greatly appreciate everyone. Micrograms says, it looks like Grandpa is crashing out over his dear friend Epstein. Yeah, man. Scorpio Score says, where else do they find informants? Simple, engaging in the same crimes they're investigating. That is true. That is correct. All right. Sina Hogelboom. I am glad you did not have your gun either. Talking about the black cop who was profiled. You would be dead, Hogelboom says. And what did I serve for? Says when you think you're in the club and they remind you of what they really think of you. I mean, they took him to jail, cuffed him, gave him the perp walk, everything over a misdemeanor. And Love 18 White Girl, damn, helping a shooting victim is illegal now. Well, almost worthy of the death penalty, it seems. And Bubba Franks, the Sword Dragon, an attorney from another state. Objection, Your Honor, relevance. That's right. He's obviously bar licensed. Okay, got something for you. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish you Karen would.
You want to call the police on him for having a barbecue on a Sunday.
You're feel free! Back off!
I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life.
You're fleecing of America. Look over here. You're fleecing of America. Look at Donald Trump. And you're fleecing of America. Bag. You're done. You're dead. Bitch. I know Donald Trump.
I bet. Cool. Bet.
And you and your nasty kids aren't going to be performing another fleecing of America. And I don't know any child support for your nasty rat. You're not getting any child support for your nasty rat, bitch. You're not getting any child support for your nasty rat, bitch.
Yo, bitch, get the out of my face,
No
dog.
problem, ho. No problem, ho. No problem, ho. You're not getting any child support for your rat.
Put up the picture for mass. Ma'am, what commentary could I add that your face doesn't already? It's nasty, hateful, rude, disrespectful, and just downright ugly. Racist individual, harassed a boyfriend, according to the poster of the clip on TikTok. Quote, a racist harassed my boyfriend. That makes you uncomfortable. Good, it should. We're done being quiet to keep the peace. Keep the picture up. I want to say something about that. I tell my students often that being uncomfortable, and I mean this, being uncomfortable is one of the most underrated feelings you will ever have. Don't dismiss it. Being uncomfortable is how we transform worlds. We just have to do something about the discomfort. Now, there are some people who become comfortable in their discomfort. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to those who will be uncomfortable. And because of that, because of how they are built, they are required to change things because they like to live comfortably. That is what being uncomfortable would do for the world. So thank you for posting this. Thank you for saying what you said. We need people to get uncomfortable. Rosa Parks was uncomfortable. Dr. King was uncomfortable. Malcolm X was uncomfortable. Gandhi was uncomfortable. You are uncomfortable. I'm uncomfortable. Sharon is uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right, Doc. And that's great lessons. Another one for your students, being uncomfortable for certain people, Rosa Parks, so many other historical figures and current modern day ones. Being uncomfortable for them is their innate call to action. It's necessary. And you know what else is an animal instinct for us humans? Shame. Well, it used to be for so many people. Don't ignore shame. It's your body's reaction saying, well, this isn't right.
Yeah.
I've done something I need to correct.
Yeah.
That needs to come back. Some people have, or maybe it's been bred out of us, certain ones of us. I don't know.
It's still in the collective conscious. It always is. All right. Hell of a thing. So a woman claims she called ICE on a Hyundai plant in Georgia that led up to the raid, bragging about it. Here it is.
Federal immigration agents detained more than 450 people at a Hyundai manufacturing site just west of Savannah, Georgia. The Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives said multiple agencies helped carry out this operation. Authorities claim it was connected to an investigation over unlawful employment practices. The 3,000-acre site has only been operational for a year.
So there were 452 illegals apprehended at the Hyundai mega plant construction site yesterday near Savannah. And I was the one that reported the information that I had to ICE.
All right, well, let's talk about it. Put it up full mass. According to Rolling Stone, Tory Branham is a Marine Corps veteran, firearms instructor, and Republican candidate for Georgia's 12th congressional district, and a proud Trump supporter. As agents with Immigration and Customs Enforcement and the Department of Homeland Security were still carrying out a raid at this Hyundai plant in rural Bryan County, just outside the district that she is running to serve, she expressed pride in something else: her purported role in causing the raid herself, which resulted in the arrest of 450 people, according to the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. Quote, "How do I feel about it?" she says. "Good." Branham tells Rolling Stone, quote, "I have no feelings about the law. What's right is right, and what's wrong is wrong." Can we zoom out just for a moment? She has no feelings about the law. What's right is right. What's wrong is wrong. Many years ago, a wise man named Dick Gregory came on my radio show, and he said, "Doc, be very careful, because these folks will have you thinking what's legal is right and what's illegal is always wrong. And if we buy that, no Black person would be able to sit at a dinner counter. No Black person would be able to sit where they wanted to on a bus. Hell, Black people still wouldn't be able to purchase a Coca-Cola, because those were your laws. But there's a moral paradigm, an ethical aspiration that we look toward. And this woman says, the law is the law. But they seem to dismiss that law when it comes to their Lord and Savior, Donald Trump. They dismiss it. All of his convictions, jury of peers, by the way, constitutional rights intact, the law doesn't apply to him. So they become apologists for one man and the prosecutors of the poor. All right, let's get into it. So the raid was one of the largest in ICE history, eclipsing a raid at a California cannabis farm that netted some 300 undocumented workers. The congressional candidate says the Hyundai megasite, as she calls it, which opened in March and was hailed as a major economic development win for Georgia, Governor Brian Kemp, who's a Republican, has been the subject of rumors for months that undocumented immigrants were working there or on construction sites within the massive 2,900-acre complex. Their workers, 3 workers precisely, have died during construction at the site. Aware of safety issues and rumors about undocumented immigrants working there, this candidate says she came into contact with a local Spanish-speaking union worker who had access to the site. The plant itself is not union. Many workers there are from South Korea and are in the United States on H-1B visas, the ones that Trump likes. The South Korean government confirmed to the New York Times that some South Korean workers were detained by immigration agents. While the plant itself is not union, construction sites at the facility have been staffed by union tradesmen, some of whom have complained about undocumented workers and unsafe conditions. The union worker who came into contact with this candidate recorded some conversations they had with people, she tells Rolling Stone. She claims the union worker had discovered that undocumented immigrants were working on construction projects at plant. Quote, they were a union member, and the people confided in them because they had helped them win lawsuits over unsafe working conditions. She said she declined to name the union worker who acted as the informant. From there, she says she reached out to ICE on the agency's website, and an agent then contacted her. On September 4th, as agents from ICE, Homeland Security Investigations, Customs and Border Protection, the U.S. Marshals, the DEA, and the FBI were still raiding the facility, this candidate took credit for it on Facebook. Quote, for months, folks have whispered about what's going on behind those gates. Now the truth is finally catching up. She wrote on her Facebook page, quote, I reported this site to ICE a few months ago and was on the phone with an agent. This is what I voted for, to get rid of a lot of illegals, she tells Rolling Stone. And what I voted for is happening. I'm going to get into the negative economic impact and talk about the lack of humanity in this approach. But I just want to remind everyone that the subsection of the same federal law that says it's illegal to work undocumented in the United States of America also provides that it is illegal to recruit and to hire undocumented workers. So until the CEO of Hyundai is doing a perk walk with everybody else, there's unequal application of these laws every time. Here we go. The impact of an immigration raid on this Hyundai factory on Thursday is reverberating far beyond its rural Georgia home. It also jolted a company that has poured billions in America's South, having transformed the region into a major global auto manufacturing hub. For South Korea, the raid hit a national champion that has played a decades-long role in deepening economic ties with the Western ally. In recent months, South Korean officials have met with the Trump administration for trade talks and announced massive investments in the United States. After Lee's August summit at the White House, South Korea unveiled a $150 billion investment into the U.S., backed by private companies. One of those companies, Hyundai Motor Group, announced $26 billion alone, part of which would go toward a new steel mill plant in Louisiana. The Hyundai factory, raided on Thursday in Elabelle, Georgia, about 30 miles west of Savannah, is the company's largest manufacturing footprint in the South. The facility had its grand opening in late March with an event that was attended by Governor Brian Kemp, once again a Republican. With a joint investment from LG Energy Solutions, so-called Meta plant grew into a $7.59 billion investment, projected to bring 8,500 jobs to the state of Georgia. Parts of the 3,000-acre campus were still under construction during the raid. A spokesperson for LG Energy Solutions said about 250 affected workers were still affiliated with the HL Georgia Battery Company, a joint venture between the Hyundai Motor Group, and LG Energy Solution. A.J. Jacobs, an East Carolina University professor who has written 2 volumes on the Korean automotive industry, told Business Insider that Hyundai has so far supported nearly 30,000 direct and indirect jobs in the United States. Hyundai's first major U.S. plant was completed in Montgomery, Alabama in 2005 and 2009. The Korean automaker opened another plant about 90 miles away in West Point, Georgia, bringing in another 3,200 jobs. The reason why these numbers are important is because the very leverage used in order to maintain an anti-immigration narrative is jobs. But when you literally have an economic ally bringing in jobs, and you have basically no CEOs who are caught up in the alleged criminality of these undocumented workers, it starts to paint a picture of what's really at play. Because if it's not about jobs, if it's not about sustainability, if it's not about all of these other elements you have put in the forefront of the American voter, well, you have one thing left: bigotry, racism. That's all you have left. You can't make the economic argument. You can no longer make the jobs argument. What argument do you have? All right, sharing thoughts here.
Listen, the Karen, who's amongst the people that Dick Gregory warned you about, the one with the Kate +8 hairdo.
Yeah.
She's very telling in the way she approached this. You see, she didn't just do what an arsonist does. They light the fire and then they might sneak back to watch it burn. It really stimulates their system. She wanted you to know she did this. We wouldn't even know. She could have giggled amongst herself, whispered it to her girlfriend who also has Karenicity. That's not what happened here, because cruelty is the point. This is an insecure person, and we are working and living amongst so many in society today who believe that the people who are bringing jobs to Georgia are the ones that are stealing their American dream. Just stupidity and insecurity, Doc.
Yeah. And once again, counter to the Republican leadership of the state of Georgia, who worked hard to recruit jobs for those living in places like Bryan County and others that are very rural with little opportunity for gainful employment outside of manufacturing. All right, we'll bring you updates as they come. We got more on the other side. Indisputable. Stick and stay. Indisputable is still the fastest growing news show in America compared to CNN, Fox News, and 30 other networks. We tell the truth on Indisputable because the truth is indisputable. We go places that other news media outlets refuse to go. When there were human rights abuses happening at the Victorville prison, guards and members of the community contacted us.
You, through your investigative reporting, unearthed very troubling allegations about specific forms of abuse and discrimination in the federal prison system.
It really doesn't take much to be a trusted voice. All it takes is to be fearless, report on matters, be an advocate. I called it the bullpen intentionally because it's a place of preparation. We present individuals who may have an opposing view, so we debate. Sometimes we interview individuals because their stories deserve to be heard. A survivor of significant police misconduct and his attorney. We covered this story earlier and to remind you of the horror of one man being shot at damn near 100 times by the police. We take time on this show to showcase the temper tantrums of Karens in the wild. We do this not because we want to see people's emotional outbursts in public, but because these incidents are emblematic of a bigger societal issue taking place across the nation, and it has to be checked. My friend, my big homie, attorney at law, Benjamin Crump.
I just want to thank you, man. Educated, articulate brothers like yourself speak speak truth to power, it makes a great difference in changing the landscape in America. So
listen, no matter what you do, don't allow the politics of ideology to evaporate the soul that still exists inside of you. They don't stop, I don't stop. Racism won't stop, I won't stop. Systemic bias won't stop, I won't stop. People still need health care, so I won't stop. People still need criminal justice systems reformed, so I won't stop. You won't stop either.
I'm wearing one of our pieces of merchandise. So the funny thing about the Dragon Squad, and that's what our viewers call themselves. That's the name of the group, but every individual chooses their own name. You might have Cincinnati Dragon. You might have Harry Potter Dragon. We have a Grandma Sunshine Dragon is one of those that I remember. These are people that like to have an element of themselves, their lives, what's significant to them reflected as a part of the community. But the concept of the Dragon Squad is just something I threw away as a joke. I was mocking the Proud Boys, these like right-wing groups that come up with a name for themselves that they think is cool, but it's actually really lame. And I thought, off the top of my head, I can come up with something that's still kind of lame, but much cooler. And so I threw out Dragon Squad, and I just moved on with my life. But everybody liked it, and so they kept it going, and so we've embraced it. And I think again, this was during the period of the pandemic. I think it was sort of nice to have a renewed sense of community, a feeling that you're a part of something when everything seems so chaotic. And as a result of that, we've got independent artists online streaming, making beautiful digital art of dragons. We've got, we've released a number of pieces of merchandise that people love sending us photos of them. And then, by the way, for me personally, people send me, like you can probably see in the background, like a knitted dragon someone sent me. There's a dragon book they sent me, dragon board games they send me. People have done like custom ironworks, making dragon bottle openers. Like the fans are super invested in diamond art and things like that. And so it's great that they send this stuff. Sometime we're gonna have to set up a wall of all of it. But yeah, it's definitely brought the community a lot closer together. The fact that we were no longer in this big studio, I felt a lot more personally attached to people. It felt very immediate. And I know that I personally needed the connection.
All right, welcome back. Always good to be with you. We got a lot of comments. I'll read as many as I can. It's Just Vegas says, damn, she looks like she just did a rail off the rail. I actually know what that means. Hilarious. And Neon Death 07, those Korean workers were sent to help us and that plant. PB Cupcake reference, I understand the story. I didn't realize we were getting a bonus. I wish a Karen would. That's right. Yeah. And that's right. See the hog boom. This woman needs to have her guns taken away. Shooting your constituents in their feet is not a good deal. It's not a good idea. That's right. That's a good one. All right. I agree. Okay. Here we go. Innocent black male arrested due to faulty AI facial recognition. Here we go again. Put it up full mass. All right. How do we get here on this one? NYPD falsely arrested a black male based off of faulty facial recognition technology. We've talked about this before on Indisputable. Now activists are calling for an investigation into previous arrests. According to ABC7 News, civil rights and privacy groups are demanding an investigation into the NYPD's use of facial recognition technology after a black male was allegedly arrested and jailed for 2 days based on false identification. Travis Williams told ABC that the actual criminal the NYPD was after looked nothing like him, outside of the fact that they are both black men with similar hair. Quote, I was so angry, I was stressed out, end quote. Williams said, quote, the man they were looking for, he was 8 inches shorter than me and 70 pounds lighter, end quote. According to the New York Times, the arrest stemmed from a 911 call made in February by a woman who told the police that a delivery man had exposed himself to her in a Manhattan building. She reportedly described the man as being 5 feet 6 inches, which makes it odd that officers arrested Williams about 2 months after the incident was reported, considering he is over 6 feet tall. The New York Times reports the man, Travis Williams, was driving from Connecticut to Brooklyn on the day of the crime. And location data from his phone put him about 12 miles away at the time. But a facial recognition program plucked his image from an array of mugshots, and the woman identified him as the flasher. Like Mr. Williams, the culprit was black, had a thick beard and mustache, and wore his hair in braids. Physically, the two men had little else in common. Mr. Williams was not only taller, he also weighed 230 pounds. The victim said the delivery man appeared to weigh about 160 pounds. But Mr. Williams still spent more than 2 days in jail in the month of April. April 21st, the police caught Mr. Williams entering the subway through an exit gate in Brooklyn and learned he was wanted for questioning in the February 10th episode. They took him into custody. When they interrogated him, Mr. Williams told the police that he had started making deliveries for Amazon on April 1st. He explained he had worked in an Amazon warehouse during COVID-19 and in Atlanta, but that at the time of the crime, he had been working his Connecticut job with autistic adults. Quote, that's not me, man, he said when the police showed him surveillance images of the flasher. Quote, I swear to God, that's not me, end quote. Quote, of course you're going to say that wasn't you, the detective responded. He then asked what would happen if he pulled Mr. Williams' employment records. So the police decided to go ahead and charge him the following day anyway. NYPD officials told ABC that its use of this software comes with legal regulations and that the technology has a proven success rate that eclipses the number of times it has been wrong and led to false arrest. That's horrible. The department also noted that, quote, even if there is a possible match, the NYPD cannot and will never make an arrest using facial recognition technology solely. I mean, they would never violate an office policy. We're talking about the police. They would never allow facial recognition technology to do their jobs. We know that. 100% fact. They would never be that lazy. However, this is not the first time we've reported on someone going to jail based on a faulty confirmation from an AI or computer-generated recognition technology. Let's do this. Let's eliminate that technology for a minute, just for a moment, and look at the variables as a detective would. You have a variability in the weight. You have a significant variation in the height. You also have a credible alibi that's verifiable. Without the AI technology, does that man still spend the night or 2 nights in jail? No, he doesn't. What was the one piece of information that seemed to override all of the other investigative prowess that would have normally been affixed to this case? The technology. The technology. Now, the NYPD, they have to say, based on the licensing and the use of the technology, they have to say by law, we would never make a decision based solely on the technology, because if they say that, they no longer are in lawful use of the technology. It has to be an investigative aid. It cannot be the investigator. But it seems as if in practice, or at least in culture at times, it overrides the investigative common sense of the detective in charge. Just a point. All right, the police did charge him. But then what else? Williams was the arrest based off of. Williams said that the negative impact of his arrest did not end once the charges were dropped. Quote, I was in the process of becoming a correctional officer at Rikers Island, he told ABC, adding that, quote, they kind of froze the hiring process after his arrest, but you don't say. Quote, I hope people don't have to sit in jail or prison for things they didn't do, Williams said. A forensic analysis that Mr. Williams' lawyers made of his phone record showed that at the time of the crime, his phone had communicated with the cell towers around Brooklyn, according to data reviewed by the Times. His lawyers were prepared to use that evidence in court, but the case was dismissed before they could present it. You know who else could have got that evidence? Well, the detective. The detective. There's more. Mr. Williams, who has a 12-year-old son, feared that the charges could get him placed on some type of offender registry and that he would be unable to find work or pick up his child from school. He felt humiliated. He felt angry. And he worried that everyone he knew would find out about these shameful charges. And I want to say this, dear brother. What's shameful is the system that did it. You're an innocent victim of a holistic, corrupt system. It has its bright moments every now and then when good people step up and do the right thing. But even the explanation from top leadership about this, well, they would call it mishap. Well, the system gets it right way more than it gets it wrong. And the people that are wrongly arrested, well, that pales in comparison to the people that are rightfully arrested. That's not our measure. The system is broken if one innocent human being ever gets arrested, convicted of a crime that they have never done. That is your standard. And anyone who's willing to give you less than that standard, they are not worthy of your trust. All right, sharing thoughts here.
Well, the innocent man has shown that he's deserving of damages here. Yeah. Now, I wouldn't give him $1 for the Rikers part, losing the job there. You don't want to go there. You want to talk about people who've been held. One young man committed suicide after he was held so long for nothing but something about a backpack. So you don't want to go there. But the rest shows how lazy these bums are, from the cell towers to everything else. Were they eating donuts when they picked them up? Taking a little break? Were they looking sloppy and lazy? Because that's what you related. That's absolutely what I heard. And as far as the software, the facial recognition nonsense, it has a high inaccuracy rate for Black people, particularly Black women. Why? Because flawed data in, flawed data out. It's based on mostly white men. That's what they fed into the system. That's also why Siri pretends they can't understand what I'm saying, okay? Because they're not trained on my voice. I thought I talked for a living, but So we've got to stop relying on this stuff and calling it just great, conclusive, when people's lives are at stake. Disgusting.
Yeah, well said. And we'll bring you updates as they come. I definitely think this individual should look for an attorney. We got more on the other side. Indisputable. Stick and stay.
our audience has given us everything, so we couldn't be more connected. When we first started, people would start giving us directions and say, okay, the mics are too large, move them. Turn them into lav mics. I mean, they were incredible. And then one guy walked in and gave us a really expensive switcher and said, you guys need this, and walked out. Okay, it's amazing. They helped us build a studio. They did a $2 million funding campaign for us. And so they really are us. We do this show together to the point where some of our hosts are even former listeners. So when we say that the audience is part of TYT, we really mean it.
I think what the audience also appreciates is especially if they're members, they really get an inside look into who we are, our personal lives, what drives and motivates us. It goes beyond just storytelling. I think that what we do is allow our viewers and our listeners into our daily lives, and we give them kind of like this inside look into everything that we're passionate about and why it is that we're doing what we're doing, right? Like the motivation behind what we're doing, I think is important for our audience to know, and we're not shy about sharing that with them. And it's different from what people typically see in legacy media outlets where everything is kind of dry and robotic and there's really no personality or authenticity that comes along with it. Oftentimes when we're doing the show, I don't really think of it as me telling them stories. I think of it as us having a mutual respect and conversation with one another. And as I said earlier, I mean, not only do I feel that through the work I do, I'm informing our audience, but they inform me oftentimes as well. You know, they'll pitch stories to us. They'll tell us, you know, a certain perspective or angle to a story that we might have missed. And I love it.
All right, always good to be with you. Welcome back. We got a lot of comments. I'll read as many as I can. Tyler Hagner, member for 35 months. Thank you so much for that. If any black person did what Trump has done, especially with Epstein, they would be in prison, not in power. Yep. And Gal 471, it has been proven that facial recognition software is good for white people, but it has a hard time with minorities. And Octosquides. Yep. That's what you get when you train all your models on all white faces and not diversity, the data set. Not that I'm trying to help the surveillance state. There you go. And Guam will capsize dragon. I sure am glad that law enforcement has a new tool they can blame their behavior on. It's amazing. All right. 13-year-old child fascinated with mass shooters found with a cache of, well, guns. Put it up, full mass. 13. I want you to keep that picture up. 13-year-old child influenced by what? Culture, peers, what's in the media. This 13-year-old child in Washington State has been arrested after officers raided his family home and found a collection of weapons, some with 3D printed parts. Now, they arrested the 13-year-old, okay? This is a great irony I'm about to highlight. 13-year-old child who may have, quote, idolized previous mass shooters has been arrested after police found a large collection of guns and mass shooting scenario writings at his Washington State home, authorities said. Police were notified on Friday about the child who allegedly had, quote, school shooter ideations, quote, was making threats to kill, and said he had access to guns, according to the sheriff's office in Pierce County, which encompasses Tacoma. Police searched the child's home early Sunday morning. Sheriff's office said authorities found a large quantity of secured and unsecured guns, quote, loaded magazines with school shooter writings on them, and clothes and writings that reinforced a, quote, typical mass shooting scenario. Let's go to Deputy Carly Capetto. The deputy with the Pierce County Sheriff's Office told ABC News that authorities found 23 firearms inside the home, many of which appear to be homemade long guns using 3D printed parts. The 13-year-old has been charged with attempted threat to bomb, injure a school, unlawful possession of a firearm, and unlawful possession of fireworks, according to court documents. He is due in court on Monday. The child's parents have not yet been charged at this time, according to the deputy. Isn't that interesting? Who has custody of the guns? 13-year-old? How? Does the 13-year-old pay rent? Is the 13-year-old on the lease? Who owns the domicile? Who's housing the weapons? Who has a duty to protect the minor? The parents are what? Not charged. The teenager allegedly had social media posts dating back to June with photos of him holding guns, as well as messaging that appeared to show a, quote, fascination of recent school shootings, mass casualty attacks, according to court documents. Police recovered posts that appeared to reference the 1999 Columbine high school mass shooting and the 2022 Uvalde, Texas elementary school mass shooting. According to court documents, some AR-style magazines found at the child's home had writing on them referencing mass shootings, including Columbine. The court document said materials for fireworks and explosives were also recovered at the house. Document said the child is not currently enrolled in any school district, authorities said, noting that he last attended the Franklin Pierce School District in 2021. Now let's put up the deputy again. Now, deputy, why is the child arrested? The child is showing clear signs of some level of dissociative disorder. The parents are showing clear signs, in my opinion, of extreme neglect or possibly even encouragement of criminal behavior of a minor. But they are the responsible ones. They are the ones that have a duty to care for this 13-year-old child. And the law supports that guns or weaponry that can be harmful to a child have to be secured by the adults. So how is it that the child has been arrested? Because the child has ideations? Well, that's covered by free speech, ironically. I know you don't like to hear it, but it will be resolved in a court of law. The sheriff did what the sheriff can do here. Make an arrest on face value, gets kicked out later by a DA or possibly by a judge. But the parents, there's actual statutory language that can hold the parents accountable. But see, if you hold the parents accountable, you're on a slippery slope. Because see, the law says that the parents can have unlimited guns and there's nothing you can do about it. That's what you're afraid of. You're afraid to go after the parents because the parents create a constitutional crisis for your gun-loving culture. So you arrest the child. Shameful. All right, sharing thoughts.
Perfect analysis. When you arrest the child, you also don't have to confront common sense gun reform.
That's right.
An overwhelming majority of Americans are demanding. Instead, you can take the coward's way out. Nobody's responsible for this minor. So he's emancipated, and we're just going to look at just this minor and nothing about the environment. It's really ridiculous.
Yeah, as if the 13-year-old purchased the 3D printer. The 13-year-old came up with all of the technology or technological training required to do this. Is sickening. that they've decided to allow this to be placed on the burden of a child. The burden is on a child. We'll bring you updates as they come. All right. Got something for you. Ladies and gentlemen, got a question. What in the red state hell?
You can take a gun, shoot somebody in the face. It's not hard. Sometimes it might even be fun if they're a godless commie.
Now, what they're trying to do is sneak the COVID vaccine in your salads.
I hate math. Somebody say amen.
Hate the idea that we should ever have to shoot each other over a political issue like we did in the 1860s. So much of what is tyrannical in this country arose from the post-Civil War amendments and the civil rights laws that have been taken over by the left and used to silence people and strip us of our free association rights. I'm obviously in favor of civil rights and that everybody gets treated fairly, but the left takes over every social issue, and the Civil War kind of left us in many ways less free than we were. So opposing political violence with all my heart, I still want to say that I believe the Second Amendment is as important today as when it was written.
They probably need to take your guns now, sir. Put them up full mass. Yeah, he's getting close. He's getting there. So according to this fella, Andrew Clevin, he claims America is actually less free after the Civil War. This is becoming a narrative now, slowly getting to the place of where he may start agreeing with the insanity of no longer being civil. Will serve people like myself and many others oppose your doctrine and dogma. And we will continue to. Sharing thoughts here.
I don't know what to think. I just, as we were listening to that, I was like, and Georgia's still purple, right? Because I don't want any part of this. I don't want to be associated with this. It's lunacy, Doc. And I don't know what to do about it because we have to exist with these people. You know, some would argue, unfortunately. And I just wonder if there's an opportunity for someone to emerge from a fog, a deep fog.
Yeah. Well, hopefully more people are enlightened. I've seen some things, Sharon, I never thought I would see. Number one, Tucker telling the truth. Number two, Candace always making sense. Like these things are happening on this planet right now.
Marjorie Taylor Greene.
There you go. Marjorie Taylor Greene having nuance. So yes, anything's possible. All right. Always fascinating to have you on the program. Tell people how they can follow you, check out your great work.
At Sharon Reed Live across all platforms. I recorded another Rebel HQ installment today. I hope folks will continue to support there. And just remember, Doc, we need you. We need all of your expertise, your teaching, the students you're sending out into the world with a good, fresh start. Please continue for us.
Thank you, dear sister. We need you too. And thank you for that. Really appreciate you as always. All right, remember, take care of yourself. Take care of each other. Take care of the planet. Remember, the truth is always indisputable.